Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna talk about the evolution of your home studio, or how to build gradually your home studio. Now, before I start with this tutorial, there is a few things that I wanna clarify. The first one is that if you are planning to record a full band in your home studio, then this tutorial, it might be not for you. The reason for that is because if you wanna record a full band on your home studio, you are gonna need a completely different setup over the one that I'm gonna mention today. Okay, now the second thing that I want to clarify is that, of course, I'm going to give you a recommendation based on the equipment that I own or similar equipment, but I'm not going to go in deep into all of the different options that you have available out there. And last, I also want to clarify as a personal recommendation to don't expect to build your own home studio in a single day, a week, or even a month. Now, of course, if you have plenty of money, you can build your home studio in a week, but that's not the case of most of the people on earth. So try to save some money little by little and invest gradually on the equipment that you really need to build your home studio in order to have a good balance in between your personal life and your life as a music producer. Okay, so with that said, let's have a look to the first things that you need for your home studio: a laptop and a DAW. Okay, so the reason why you need both a laptop or a DAW at the same time is because if you want to make music at home, you need a DAW or a digital audio workstation. And in order to use the DAW, you need a laptop or a computer. So let's have a look first to the laptop. Now, the first thing to consider at the time to invest on laptop or computer is the operating system that you want to use, Windows or Mac. Now, based on my experience after using Windows for over a decade and also using Mac for over a decade, is to use Mac. But again, this is just my personal recommendation based on my experience. Now, another thing to consider at the time to invest your money on a laptop is the performance. Now, keep in mind that you are gonna need at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, but my recommendation is to try to get 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now, you also need at least 500 gigabytes of internal storage. And last, in terms of a processor or a CPU, my recommendation is try to get as much as you can based on your budget. Okay, now let's have a look to the DAW. Now, all of the different DAWs out there have the same purpose: allows you to make music using a laptop or a computer. Now, depending of the features that you are looking for and also kind of the type of music that you make, you might choose one to another. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about which is the best DAW out there, I have a dedicated video on my channel talking about this topic, which I'm gonna leave the link of the video on the description below. Okay, so now let's have a look what you need next for your home studio: an audio interface, headphones, and microphone. Okay, so first let's talk about the audio interface. Now, the reason why you need an audio interface is because an audio interface allows you to get audio in and out from your computer for recording and playback. Now, if you are not planning to record anything anytime soon, then you don't have to invest on a microphone, but you have to invest on an studio headphones. Now, the reason why you need headphones is because with the headphones, you are gonna have an accurate representation of how your music sound. Okay, now here on my studio, I have 2 different types of audio interface. My main audio interface is Universal Audio Bolt 476, and I also have the Focusrite Scarlett 2E2, but the first generation, which is the first audio interface that I ever had, and I'm still using it sometimes. Now, this is kind of my recommendation for an audio interface interface. You can go either from Focusrite or Universal Audio, the Bolt series. But you also have different options available out there, like the ones from Audient, SSL, Arturia, Native Instruments, Motu, Presonus, just to name a few of them. Okay? Now, in terms of headphones, the one that I always use are the Beyerdynamic DT880 Pro. Now, again, you have different options of studio headphones from Beyerdynamic, but that's not the only options that you have available. You also have different brands like Sennheiser, Sony, III, etc. Okay? And in terms of a microphone, the one that I have here on my studio is the Rode NT1, which I think that is a really good microphone for an entry level based on the quality and price. Now, you also have different bundle options available, like the one from Focusrite, Universal Audio Bolt, and Arturia, where you can get the audio interface, headphones, and microphone all at the same time, which might be the option that you are looking for in order to save some money. Okay, so now let's talk about the next piece of equipment that you need for your home studio, a MIDI controller. Okay, so most of the DAWs out there already comes with different instruments, such as piano, synthesizer, drum kit, etc. Now, of course, you can play and control all of these different instruments with your mouse, but it's definitely more enjoyable and efficient for the creative process to use a MIDI controller. Now, a MIDI controller allows you to play these different instruments with a piano keyboard or with a drum pads. And you can also control all of these instruments with different faders and knobs. Okay? Now, again, you have plenty of options available for a MIDI controller, depending of the size, the quality, the features, etc. And you also have some MIDI controllers where already offers everything in a single MIDI controller. A piano keyboard, drum pads, faders, and knob, all on the same MIDI controller. Now, here on my studio, I don't have any drum pad MIDI controller, but I have two different types of MIDI keyboard. I have the Native Instrument Complete Control 61 MK2, and I also have the X-Key Air by CME, which is a really good option in terms of space, as it's really thin, and it's also a really good option if you are planning to traveling a lot. Okay, now let's have a look of what you should invest next for your home studio, the studio monitors. So at the time to invest on a studio monitor, the things can get a little bit more complicated. Now, let me explain it. Without a studio monitor means that you can pretty much make music wherever you want, traveling on your living room, on the kitchen, etc. Because as you are making music with the headphones, the environment is not gonna affect the sound of your headphones. But with a studio monitor is completely different. First of all, you are gonna put your studio monitor on a dedicated area of your home studio, which means that you also need a desk if you already don't have one. And as a really important recommendation, you also need a stand for your studio monitor. And you also need cables, which means that at the time to invest on a studio monitor, it doesn't mean that you only need the studio monitor. Again, you also need a desk if you don't have already one. You also need a stand for the studio monitors, and you also need cables. Now, the good thing is that there is some bundle options out there that without the desk, obviously, it already comes the studio monitor with the stands and the cables, which might be the right option for you. Now, here on my studio, I have two sets of monitors. I have the Yamaha HS7, and as a second reference, I also have the Genelec 8010. Now, I think that the Yamaha are a really good option in terms of price and quality. But again, there is different options available out there, like the ones from KRK, Avant Audio, Presonus, etc. Okay, so now that you also invest on a studio monitor, let's have a look of what you should invest next, just right after you invest on a studio monitors. Acoustic treatment. Okay, so now that you already invest on a studio monitor, what you want is to get, of course, the best out of your studio monitor. In order to do that, you definitely have to invest on acoustic treatment. The reason for that is because without acoustic treatment, do not expect to have a good quality on your music out of your studio. Now, your music might sound good on your studio, but when you listen to your music in a different environment, such as a car, on your phone, or even in a club, etc., it will sound completely different. The reason for that is because if you don't have any acoustic treatment, the sound out of your speaker is completely far from the reality, due to different problems on your room, like phase cancellation, reverberation, etc. Okay? Now, at the same time that you invest on acoustic treatment, it might also be a good idea to invest on a sound software correction, such as SonarWorks. Now, personally, I think these two pieces of equipment, acoustic treatment and a sound software correction, just match perfectly together. Now, some people out there think that only with the sound software correction you can fix most of the problem that you have on your room, but that's far from reality, because a sound software correction is gonna help you to fix some issues based on a frequency, but it cannot do anything in terms of phase cancellation and especially reverb. So again, these two pieces of equipment, acoustic treatment and a sound software correction, just match perfectly together. And that's my recommendation for the next thing to invest in your home studio. Okay, so now that you also invest on acoustic treatment, you pretty much have the basic of a home studio. Now, there is two really important things that I didn't mention yet. The first one is hardware, virtual instruments, effects, etc. And the second one is libraries, sample pack, etc. Now, the reason why I didn't mention it yet is because there is not a specific point or where you should start invest on hardware and libraries. It all depends of what you need and how you prioritize hardware or libraries over any of the basic equipment that I already mentioned. Okay? And last, I also want to clarify that all of these equipment that I already mentioned are just the basics of a home studio. Now, apart of all of these basic equipment that I already mentioned, there is tons of different equipment, such as real instrument, synthesizer, guitars, keyboard, etc. Different type of pedals, different types of MIDI controller. In conclusion, different types of studio gear that will help you improve your productivity and your creativity. But again, this is something that, in my opinion, you should invest after you cover the basic of a home studio. Okay? So again, one more time, try to don't rush in order to build your own home studio. Just do it gradually in order to have a good balance between your personal life and your life as a music producer. Okay, so that's all for me. Hope you like and learn something from this video. If you have any question, please leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching. My name is JonHut and I will see you in the next one.